If you're loving this podcast, be sure to check out our full lineup. From news and local politics to sports and true crime, find your next great listen right now at duluthnewstribune.com/podcasts. That's duluthnewstribune.com/podcasts.
Hello, Northlanders. It's Wednesday, May 24th. I'm Wyatt Buckner with your Duluth News Tribune Minute, presented by Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union.
The average MPECU member saves over $785 a year in better rates and lower fees. And with MPECU, every ATM is your ATM. With their free checking program, you get ATM fee reimbursements at any ATM anywhere in the U.S. Check out Minnesota Power Employees Credit Union's services online at mpecu.com or visit their offices in downtown Duluth, Arrowhead Road, or Miller Trunk Highway.
Now here's a look at today's headlines. A developer's plan to convert nearly one-third of a recently constructed 74-unit apartment building into a boutique hotel has fallen flat with members of the Duluth Economic Development Authority. At a special meeting Tuesday, DEDA commissioners voted 6-0 to withdraw nearly $2.35 million in tax subsidies it had planned to offer Duluth Lincoln Park 1 LLC for a development called Lincoln Park Flats. The intent of the original project was to create additional housing, including affordable units, said Chris Fleege, director of the Duluth Planning and Economic Development Authority. However, the cost of the project soared during the pandemic. P&R, the local firm behind the development, issued a statement Tuesday saying the cost of materials rose 500%, followed by record increases in interest lending rates. In a previous letter to Duluth City Council, Ryan Nelson, a principal partner at P&R, said rents are not enough to pay interest on the building. The budget for the project grew from $13.8 million to nearly $17 million by the time it was ready for occupancy in June of last year. Duluth Lincoln Park 1 LLC was to have received the $2.35 million in tax increment financing as part of a development agreement. TIF is a form of subsidy that uses future new tax revenues generated by a development to cover certain qualified project costs. The TIF package assembled to support the construction of Lincoln Park Flats was to remain in place until $2.35 million had been generated or until February 2048, whichever came first. In return, the developer was to construct a 74-unit apartment building, with 23 of the units offered at reduced rents considered affordable to households making no more than 80% of the area median income. On May 3rd, Greg Gilbert, a former Duluth City Councilor and local attorney, served a lawsuit against DEDA and the developer, challenging the use of public funds to support the project in its revised form, including a vacation rental housing. He said it is perhaps just coincidence that DEDA called a special meeting on the same day the authority was required to submit an answer to the complaint. But Gilbert told the News Tribune he was very satisfied with DEDA's decision to nullify the development agreement and the TIF package Tuesday and said he planned to drop his suit as a result of the authority's actions. Now that the original development has been voided, P&R is no longer bound by its covenants. Nevertheless, DEDA Commissioner and at-large City Councilor Eric Forsman said he has learned that residents of the 23 affordable units at Lincoln Park Flats will be offered the opportunity to remain in reduced rent units at Lincoln Park Flats for at least an additional year. A man has pleaded guilty to attempted murder just 3 weeks after severely beating a staff member at the Minnesota Sex Offender Program in Moose Lake. Nicholas Ladle Aaron Jones, 29, entered the plea at a hearing Monday in State District Court. He is expected to receive more than 18 years in prison. Court documents state that Aaron Jones used a fan motor inside a pillowcase to beat the security counselor before stomping on his head and bragging about the assault to fellow clients and staff. The 53-year-old worker suffered a traumatic brain injury and had to be airlifted to an advanced care hospital. The complaint states that the unidentified staff member was diagnosed with bleeding on the brain, along with other injuries including a laceration to the eye. Aaron Jones, according to documents, was convicted of multiple sex crimes and violent offenses as a juvenile in the Twin Cities area. He has been in local jails, the state prison system, and various treatment facilities since his teenage years, and he is under indefinite commitment. He had a history of violence in his time at Moose Lake, with 5 prior felony convictions for assaulting staff, making threats, or damaging property. He received prison time for all 5 incidents and has at times been moved to the custody of the Minnesota Department of Corrections. However, the sentences had little practical effect as he remains subject to the civil commitment. Under state sentencing guidelines, Aaron Jones is expected to receive a 220-month prison term. He would be required to spend at least 2/3 of that with the Minnesota Department of Corrections, approximately 12 years, before he could be subject to a return to MSOP. Sentencing is scheduled for July 17th. The sex offender program has been controversial for decades, allowing the state, with a judge's approval, to hold offenders well beyond after their criminal sentences is fulfilled. It is considered a treatment program, but very few clients have been successfully discharged back into the community, and many have spent decades locked up at the Moose Lake and St. Peter facilities. Superior firefighters rescued 5 people from a third-floor window of the Nottingham Apartments during an early morning fire Tuesday. 2 adults were transported to the hospital by Mayo Ambulance, according to a news release by Battalion Chief Joe Tribby with the Superior Fire Department. The other people affected were evaluated on scene and refused transport. The fire department responded to a structure fire at 1719 North 19th Street at 1 a.m. Fire was coming from an apartment on the 3rd floor of the building when they arrived, Tribby said. Occupants of the 35-unit mixed-use structure were leaving the building with the help of Superior police officers. The 5 residents were rescued by firefighters due to smoke and heat conditions that blocked their exit. Firefighters also rescued numerous pets. Due to the large amount of smoke, heat, and water damage sustained during the blaze, residents were not able to return to their apartments. Firefighters help people get essential items from their units. The American Red Cross has been notified and is helping residents as needed. Damage is estimated to be $150,000. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. Now here's a look at your forecast, brought to you by Superior Telegram's history podcast, Archive Dive.
This forecast for the greater Duluth area with the wind out of the east today. The Duluth Harbor area is going to be almost frigid, at least chilly, with temperatures likely staying in the 40s all day. The weather itself sunny, but it will be windy with east winds around 20 to 30 miles an hour. For tonight, mostly clear, temperatures likely dropping into the mid to upper 30s. Again, east winds rather breezy at times. Sunny and not quite so miserably cold on Thursday as the wind goes a little more southeast. It should warm up into the low 60s with a few 70s in northern Wisconsin. By Friday, even Duluth Superior will be likely in the low 70s. I'm Storm Tracker meteorologist John Wheeler.
Thank you to Archive Dive for their support. The monthly history podcast, hosted by Superior Telegram reporter Maria Lockwood, dips into the archives of historic events, people, and places around Superior and Douglas County. You can find the latest episode of Archive Dive at superiortelegram.com or wherever you also get this podcast. Reporting for today's episode was done by Peter Passy, Tom Olson, and Maria Lockwood. Thank you for listening to Duluth News Tribune Minute. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.